everybody. This is our Christmas, starting of our Christmas paintings. And so this one's quite large on this screen. So what I did was I sent a picture on to everyone in advance. So hopefully you've received the picture in advance and drawn your drawing. What I wanted to say was we have some white markings on the little ornaments. And these little white markings were made in advance. So once I drew the ornaments, then I went and I used something called masking fluid. And just so that you would see where the masking fluid was on the second drawing that I sent, there was two. So these, I added a little bit of blue watercolor to my masking fluid. So this is the masking fluid. So it can be called a resist pen, or masking fluid, or you could have used a wax crayon. But these little spots on here are, when we're finished, those little spots on the ornaments and these little white spot in the little berries will be white at the end. That's what the resist pen or the masking fluid does. It keeps that area completely white. So that's what makes this a true watercolor, by leaving white.
Cathy, is brisket the same thing?
Brisket is the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now if you haven't used whiteout or resist or brisket before we started today, and you're going to put it on your picture, it needs to be dry before we start to paint. So it will still have a sticky feel, but it's dry. So if I put water on top of that, the water won't penetrate. And that's really what we're doing. We're putting something on to prevent water from penetrating into the watercolor paper. So at the end, we can take this off just by rubbing. And that's what leaves these nice white lines on our picture. So if you haven't received it and you haven't used the brisket or the masking fluid or resist pen, then when we paint our ornaments, deliberately leave some white spaces in the middle. By leaving those white spaces, we'll give a nice little decoration on the front of your ornament. So we'll go ahead and we'll start. I'll just move this one back a little bit and come forward with my drawing. So we'll just start by painting the ornaments. We're going to do the ornaments first, the fun part. And what you'll need is just a few pieces of paper towel, 2 little water dishes, one clean, both clean water to start with, but one for rinsing and the other one for clean water. But so these are your ornaments, so you can paint them whatever color you decide you want them to be. If you're not happy with what I put on here, I kind of did a purple one, I did a pink one, and I did an orangey to yellow one. So we'll just start with the center one, and I think I'll use something called raw sienna, which is sort of a browny red, but red is a nice color. So we'll just go ahead and we'll paint that ornament. So, and because we put that color or paint resist on there, we can paint right over top.
So Cathy, I have a question with that. Can you use a paintbrush to put on the resist?
You can use a paintbrush to put the resist on, but in the instructions I had said, and so I'll just repeat that for anybody that didn't see it as well. Dip your paintbrush into soap first, just a soapy substance. It can be dish soap. And then go ahead and put your paint resist on. The soap will save your brush. The brisket or the paint resist or the masking fluid, it's just like rubber cement. So it will if you use your brush, your bristles together, and you won't be able to use it for much else after. So just dip it in soap first. And so we'll go on to the ornament all the way down and around. And I'm actually going to use a little bit bigger brush. I'm just going to paint the whole thing, and I'm going right over top of that color resist. If if you haven't left white spots or you're not happy with what you've got as far as your ornament color, at the very end, if you use whiteout, that can give you the ornament colors or the nice little white on the front. But once you put any other product besides watercolor paint on a watercolor, it's no longer a watercolor. It changes what you need to call it. So then it's called a mixed media piece. So there's my first ornament painted. The second ornament is behind this one. So we're going to leave this one with the little dots on it. We're going to do that one last. We're going to move over to the little one on the right-hand side. And I think I'll make that my yellow ornament. And this is yours. And this is, you're not copywriting anything. This is my drawing, and I'm giving you permission to go ahead and work from it. So don't think that you're copywriting anything. I'm just going to soak that up, that little extra dot, just with a little piece of paper towel. It's just a little heavy on the bottom. Depending, sometimes people have a color theme. Maybe you want your ornaments to be blue and red. Maybe you want them all to be different shades of green. It's entirely up to you. And I think I'll make my ornament on the other side, just for balance of color. I'm going to make it orange on the bottom, and I'm going to run yellow up through the top. So now I'm going to continue on with this one, just orange. I'm going to have a nice yellow on the top, but I'm going to blend those together. I'm going to have them run together. So what I'm doing is I'm working with anywhere in the painting that has paint resist or masking fluid or brisket. I'm painting all of those sections first, so they have the longest time to dry. I want that to be completely dry before we take it off. And then I'm going to use red on my little berries. So I'm just going around the outside of each berry so that it has a little white spot in the middle. So, and they're not perfect dots. They're berries in the tree. Maybe they've had a little bit of weathering. They're a little bit older. You could make yours perfectly round if you like. Mine just aren't. So again, I'm just doing anything that's got the block out for the paint first to give it the longest time to dry. We have a little ornament holder at the top of each ornament. And that's a little, it could be silver, could be gold. I'm making mine gold. So I'm using something called ochre. Just to give it a golden look. Notice your ornaments in that are hanging, that any of the little ribbons or strings that are holding the ornament need to be as straight as possible because they're hanging down. So in order for it to look natural, they need to be straight up and down. And if you're new, if this is the first time that you're doing watercolor or the first time you're doing watercolor with me, I start with a blank canvas the same as you, except I did send out the picture pre-drawn with the brisket art or the masking fluid on it. However, I do start and walk you through step by step. If you find you're holding your brush really tight and holding your breath, then you're probably not as free with the colors as would feel better, would give you a different effect. So take a deep breath and relax. It's just a piece of paper and this is just practice. We're just here for an hour of trying something new and just seeing what we're capable of, what we like to do, how it can work, how the colors blend together. We're not here for perfection, just for entertainment for the day, for 1 hour today. So now we also have black in our tray. Black was one of the colors that we were looking for. So the black is what I'm going to use for the ribbon. Now this one really, it's not really attached to anything, but I'm just going to give it a little black line. This line I want to go straight up and down or as straight as possible. The same as on the third one, as straight as possible, right in around that little hook. And while I've got the black, I'm going to put those little lines, just little lines, on my ornament holder. Just a few little markings. Just breathe into it. If the colors aren't going exactly where you want them to go, or you go over the edges, that's okay. It's not a big deal. We are going to put a little bit of blue on the outside edge at the end. So if you do have some that's run over some of the ornaments, then we can touch on the side of those and that'll give a nice effect. A good part of watercolor to make it look more like a watercolor is to leave white somewhere in your picture. That's one of the reasons for the masking fluid. But we're also going to leave white in and around the ornaments. If we go back to the original picture, we do have some blue, but we also have a fair bit of white in and around the outside, which gives it a nice open feel, a nice open, clean look. So if you're ready, we're going to move into the green, and green is for the leaves. So I'm just taking a dark green, and I'm going to start to paint my leaves. And this leaf happens to go right over the ornament in one spot. And I've got a green stem. Trying to give some nice points to the edges of the leaf. And if you haven't drawn those points on, then when you're painting, just as you get to the end of your leaf, or the edge of the edge of the leaf, then just lift your brush up and it should leave you a little point on the end. And so this will take you a little bit. We're going to paint all these leaves green. So we're painting this one green, dark green, and this one dark green, and this one dark green, and this one dark green. And again, if you're holding your brush really tight, it's because you're not taking a deep breath. So stop and take a deep breath. Let the colors flow. I'm going to put some veins in these after, so don't worry about it being completely perfect. leaves are not all uniform in color. And when you put watercolors on, they're going to dry 20 to 30% lighter than what you put it on as. So we may go back and put on a second coat. So if it's not exactly the way you want it, we are going to go back over anyways. So don't let this be the last time that you'll do a painting like this. Practice and do it again. Make the ornaments different colors. Do it backwards, put the leaves on the other side, or add an extra leaf. So we're still giving lots of time for that paint to dry in and around that paint, masking fluid or brisket or resist pen. in order to give a nice look for light and dark, I've painted just one leaf. And I'd like you to see it's just one half. The bottom half is dark. So that looks like a shadow. So if I take this leaf and I paint the bottom part, now that I've painted it once, I'm going back with the same color, but I'm going to paint the bottom part darker. I'll do the same on this leaf. If I paint the bottom part in the same color, but I'm going to paint the bottom part darker. The same on this leaf. I'm doing the same thing. So it brings a variation to the leaf. Someone was asking if it was possible to receive the drawing after the class. Excuse me. And so I've just sent through my email address. So anybody that didn't receive it that would like to have it, then certainly send me your email. I'll put you on the email list. And anytime I send through a drawing before the class, you'll be sure to be on my list, and I'll send through whatever you need in advance. So I usually send it out on a Sunday night, sometimes on a Monday morning, but usually a Saturday, Sunday I try to have it through at the latest. It could be early evening, but just watch your email and just check your spam just in case you're not getting. So we have the leaf, we have the top and the bottom, we have a variegated difference between the top and the bottom. And so now we're going to go through and we're going to put the veins on. So these veins are in blue. So I just outlined the leaf down the center, and that's a little bit dark, but, and then I'm just going to put some little veins in there. Pretty dramatic, that's pretty dark. It may dry a little bit lighter, but I'm just going to tap some of that off. It looks a little bit dark.
That blue?
That was blue, and it looks like it's pretty dark. So if you're going to put blue on, just water your blue down a little bit. What I put on was just a little bit too dark.
Are they just very fine veins?
They're very fine, yes. Yeah. So if you have a small brush, the tiny bristles on a brush. So mine looks like it's a little bit dark, but you know, I'm not really too worried about it. I think that's part of my experience with watercolor. This is not about perfection. It's just about getting the colors on and playing. So I'm going to add a little bit of green over top just to lighten that up a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. I just, it's all part of learning and growing and having fun. So just play with it and see what works. If you like your leaves to be a little bit lighter than that, you can actually add a little bit of yellow. I'll just practice with that one for fun. I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow on the top of that one just to see what that does. So just play and learn and grow, and if you practice after today, then you'll even get more out of it. So it's just lines just to show the veins, and that's the darker on the bottom and the lighter green on the top, which both are the same green, and then the blue just running through for veins. Now we'd like the boughs of the other tree that's in the picture. We want those boughs or those leaves to be a lighter green, almost a lemony lime green. So if we mix yellow and green together, we get a nice lime green color. So my lime green color is different than the green with the leaves. So it's more of almost an olivey green. So with this olivey green, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the other leaves of the tree. Now, I hadn't asked you to have a toothbrush handy, and I don't know if you have one available in your paint kit or not, but I'm just going to show a demonstration with the paintbrush to make those bows. If I was to use, maybe I'll use a darker color and then you can actually see it. With the paintbrush, it gives a nice look for the boughs on the tree. So if I put that on the picture, then I get a wispy look. It's difficult to do with the brush, but this also is very good if you have in your collection a fan brush. A fan brush gives a nice look of the boughs on the tree as well. So between in the drawing that I sent, between the boughs on the evergreen tree, there's some spaces, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill in those spaces. So we want to have a fuller look, more like this. So we want to fill it in more, but we're starting with the basis, just having our few painted in. And with that lime green, we're going to make it a little bit darker. And every other one, we're going to make darker. So we still keep that lime look. We don't want it to be exactly the same color as the other boughs or the other leaves. So, and for technique, you're just pulling from the center of your branch and out, and when you get to the outside edge, just lift your brush off the canvas, and you'll get a flick or a nice point. And so just continue to fill in between a little bit darker green and a lime green until you have a nice full look. Someone's asking how often do we have, do I hold these classes, and I hold it every Tuesday. So every Tuesday from 1 till 2 or whatever your time zone is. It's every Tuesday I'm on from 1 till 2. So it's a 1 hour. And what I do is work to have a picture ready for you or an idea for you that can be done within that hour. So we don't carry over into the next class. Sometimes I will demonstrate something from class before, but typically we are done within the hour. So we should have our masterpiece done in another 18 minutes, so or less. So keep painting, keep breathing, keep letting the colors blend together, have some fun with it. And so now I'm going to add a little bit of blue to my yellow and green so that it's a little bit darker. So this is the green color that I'm working with, and I'm going to add a little bit darker. It's not quite blue, but it is blue and green mixed together. And the reason that I'm mixing those together is for my center line in my bow. So I just want to identify that this is my center line. Just a tad darker. Just so it identifies or gives you that sign of the center line on your bows. I'm just going to soften something up a little bit. And the way I do that is just to get my brush just a little bit damp, dip it in my clear water, and then tap it off on the paper towel. Paper towel is really important for an artist to have. We use it a lot. And you don't have to worry about wasting too much paper towel because you can take the same paper towel, let it dry, and use it again. As long as you have room in your home. Don't have to put it on the clothesline, but it's something to just to put out and let it dry, and it can be used over and over. Now there's another technique that we're going to use, and it's just with your brush. We're going to make a little bit of a shine on each of these Christmas ornaments where the light would be hitting it. So I'm choosing to just take a little bit of paint off on the side of my ornament on the left-hand side of the ball. If you want to use it, do it on the bottom of your ornament. You want to do it on the side of your ornament, the top. That's up to you. I'm just taking off paint a little bit on the left-hand side of this ornament. So I'm dipping into clear water, tapping onto paper towel, and then rubbing the paint, tapping that paint off my brush, and just going over a few times on the same spot. And if you see, it started to take off the paint in this area. So it's just removing that little bit of paint. And because I want the same reflection, the light's coming from this way or this way, I'm going to do the same on this ornament here. I'm going to take off a little bit on this side. Again, into the clear water, rub, tap that paint off, wet my brush again, tap it on the paper towel, and rub again. So it's just a matter of lifting off a little bit of paint that looks like the light is hitting that particular spot. And I'm going to do the same on this ornament. Into the water, tap it off, rub on the paint, tap the paint off. And just keep moving on that spot until it looks like there's a shine there. my light is coming this way, hitting those ornaments. Just be careful with your paper. You can actually rub a little too hard and do some damage to the paper. So just gentle, let the brush do the work. And if you want to practice that, not on the ornament, you can actually practice it on a big leaf in the center. And I can rub and take off paint. So I can do this. It just gives you an idea of what you're doing. And if I find I've taken off too much, that's not a problem either. I've got green paint. I can go back on to my leaf and put it back on. So for a pretty little background on our picture before we come to taking off the masking fluid, with clear water, I'm just going to dip in the clear water and then dip into my blue and really thin that out so it's very, very soft blue. And with that soft blue, I'm just going to come around in a few spots and just give a nice little look of color. And this is where I had said if you have an ornament that you've painted over the edge of your ball or your ornament, you can put some blue right beside. And that makes that little spot where I just kind of went out of the edge, that makes that disappear. And so I'm just going to put a few little spots just here and there. I'm still going to leave that white because the white makes your watercolor look quite pretty. And again, there's that lift off technique that if you've gone too dark and you're not happy with it, you want to lighten it up. Then go into your clear water, tap it off on the paper towel, and just pick up some of that color. Wipe it off on your paper towel, and you can lighten that up. So again, don't let this be the last time that you do this. It's fun to actually practice and learn and see what happens when you mix and blend colors. Watercolor can be very forgiving. There's really very few things that you could do to a watercolor that you wouldn't be able to change. If you're into the darker colors, if you're into blacks or blues or heavy brown, then it might be a little trickier to get the color off. But if I wanted to remove color, then just with a clear brush, I can take off a lot of that color. So I can lighten that up completely. Or if I didn't want to use the brush, if I want to use a paper towel, just by dipping it in water, I can actually move and soften some of those colors just by using a damp paper towel. So I can soften that up a little bit if I like. So practice and play and see what your colors will do. Now we're at 2:51, so I don't want to hold anybody longer than was promised. It's a one hour class. But if you put your resist on or your brisket, now if I take my finger and I wipe off that, or I could use an eraser, so just a little eraser, and I can wipe off that paint resist. And it's just like magic. And then we have a Christmas ornament with the decoration left white. So again, you can use your finger. Just be sure you don't have oil on your hands, but you can go ahead and you can wipe that right off. And there's another ornament, and I can take the resist off where my berries are. And if where my berries are, they look a little bit too stark with the too much white, I can always go back and put a little bit more red and just fill that in a little bit. Or I can fill some in and not fill other ones in. And because they're on a branch, I'm also going to do black. I didn't actually do the branch for the berries, so I want to do that. And back to my eraser, and I'll take the paint resist off my ornament in the front. Now there's also something besides eraser in eraser that you could use, and it's called oh goodness, it's escaping me now. It's called Pickup. PICK-UP, and you could get it at an art store, and it does the same sort of thing. It's like an art eraser. So when you run your hand over and you can just feel to see if you've got your brisket off. And there you go. How do you like that? And this is the time when you decide what your artist's signature is going to be, and you can put your signature on your picture. And typically it's in the right bottom corner, but you can put it wherever you like. And if you're not used to using a pen and writing, then I suggest practicing on your your outline, your green tape. So practice on your tape. Practice on the outside somewhere here first, just to see what it is that you want to do. Just practice. That tape is very good for that. And so I'll take the tape off mine, and it's time for sharing if anyone's ready and wants to share their art. So if you use a wax crayon, you can't actually go back and paint over if you decide to after. The wax crayon works beautifully. The only thing that I would suggest to anybody that wants to do that is just know that you can't color over after, because the wax sits on the paper.
I just haven't taken off my masking fluid yet.
Oh, well, that's the most fun part. You're going to enjoy that. So just gentle, just really gentle rub. You'll feel it. It will feel like, it will feel gummy, but just rub really gently. So we do have, if you want to, if you have a finished product and you want to share, you can also email it and we'll put it on the Facebook page.
Pretty.
What happens when we're looking at our pictures is we're doing our art, and our art is right here in front of our face. So when we take this picture and we put it on a window ledge and step back 3 or 4 feet and go away for a second and come back and look, and I think you'll be amazed. It's really quite interesting what your eye does, because you're so close. We're so critical of every stroke that we're doing, but I'm proud of every single one of you. You've worked so hard at this. It takes a little bit of courage to come on and show your picture and do this art. So, and I'm glad to be able to share the things that I've learned too. Please do practice after today, because this isn't the end. This is only the starting of you trying new things. So next week we may have some different tools. I may suggest that you need a blow dryer. I may suggest that you need a toothbrush. I may say bring some Q-tips. I may or may not, but the instructions go out to you on Sunday. So have a look in your inbox. If you've given me your email address, then I will put you on my list, and so you'll be sure to get it. And if you don't get it, then look in your spam. Sometimes things disappear that way. But I'm excited to have you all with me. Thank you so much. And we are at 3:05 now, so I'm holding you on too late. So my apologies for that. But we'll see you again next week. Love you all. Bye-bye. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.